Wow, we have got a lot to get through this morning. We are watching the dust settle on this EU deal. Actually, that's probably not the right sort of metaphor. Effectively, the dust has all been kicked up in the air and people are absolutely furious. We're going to be talking to an angry farmer a little bit later about it. And you particularly, Andrew, you're hacked off, aren't you, about the movement of people that is in...
It's a youth mobility scheme. It's free movement of people by other words. Now, the government is doing... The spin the government are using, it's a youth experience scheme. I've just checked the definition of youth with the United Nations. Aged 15 to 24. This youth mobility scheme, which Starmer has signed up to, with no cap, no time limit, is 18 to 30. Now, the Telegraph is reporting today that the people who come here under the youth mobility scheme, because we're not, Bev, you may call it youth experience scheme, but I call it youth mobility scheme, I call it free movement of people, could bring their families with them. I thought they were going to cut back on immigration. And if they bring their families, how long are they going to stay for? 3 years? Well, 2 years? 1 year? 18 months?
I'm OK with this element of this deal. I always thought it was a rough time. It was a rough deal, actually, for youngsters who couldn't go and do a gap year in Spain or France or be on the Erasmus scheme where you could go and study at a European university. 30 does feel a little old, but then we also need, 25-year-olds, 28-year-olds are not like that. Are more like 21-year-olds these days, unfortunately. None of them are particularly mature for their age. We need young people in this country to come and do some of the jobs. And I would rather have French, Spanish, Italian, German, young people that want to come and work here than importing loads of people from the third world to come and do the jobs here.
We've got 880,000, I think is the figure, young people aged between 18 and 24, not in employment, not in training, not in jobs. Get them off their backsides, get them off benefits. They can do the jobs. And if they don't do the jobs, they lose the benefits.
Yeah, but what they can do now is they can go and travel. This is one of the things that we did to the young people in the last 5 years, was we stopped them spreading their wings. And now British kids can also have a right to go to Europe and work in a French cafe or go to university.
I think they always did, but it was time limited. But the other thing is, of course, we are allowing these young people to come to our universities under this deal. They will pay reduced rates to go to university. So that putting, yet again, British people at a disadvantage. That's an outrage, in my view. And, of course, they want to come to our universities. I've checked. 5 of our universities are in the world's top 30. How many top universities are in Europe? 1, Munich, number 30. So we've got 5 in the top 30. Europe's got 1, Munich.
I don't think European students will be paying less fees than British students, though, to go to university in this country.
It's a bribe. It's a bribe. We've rolled over this whole thing. We've rolled over on the whole deal.
Don't get me wrong, I think it's horrific the way that Keir Starmer behaved yesterday. It's just on that one issue of young people being able to travel, I'm all right with that. But when he said, and the Guardian's put it on the front page, EU deal puts Britain back on the world stage, says Starmer. That's what he said. And again, it comes back to this idea, no, Keir Starmer, it put you on the world stage. And that's what you love. You love glad-handing with your globalist mates, kissing up to all the massive transnational corporations which are crushing small businesses in this country. This is not about this country. This is putting us, again, giving, and we're getting, it seems, nothing.
And we still don't know, by the way, how much we have to pay into the European Union because they've not told us, because they've not resolved it. They've done the deal, but we don't know what we're going to pay. Is it going to be $1 billion a year? 2 billion?
Yeah.
That's an outrage. And look at that picture on the... That will haunt you.
Damning. If you're listening on the radio, front page of the Daily Telegraph, it's Keir Starmer kissing Ursula von der Leyen on the cheek, and it says, kiss goodbye to Brexit. That is painful for the Labour Party.
It really is. And Labour MPs, the Prime Minister will be in the Commons later today. There'll be a statement. I don't know if he's making the statement or somebody else is, but... It'll be if any Labour MPs rise to their feet to express concern, then it'd be very worried because Reform are going to really make hay out of this.
Of course they are. And
as will the Tories.
And what about the 52% of people who voted for Brexit? Yeah. It's awful, actually. I think it's criminal what he's done to negotiate this deal. But we're going to be talking to lots of guests about it this morning. Let us know your thoughts as well.
Let's talk to Christopher Hope, who, of course, our political editor, who's deeply steeped in all of this, Chris. I thought you posed a very interesting question earlier, Chris. Is this really worth it for the Labour government to reopen all this again for, I suspect, no political advantage and precious little economic advantage.
Yeah, morning, Andrew and Bev. Well, look at the numbers there, 0.2%. 0.3% of GDP growth. Rachel Reeves is trumpeting as an attempt here to upgrade our growth forecast. It might mitigate the need for spending cuts and maybe even tax increases in the budget in November. I think Keir Starmer is taking a gamble here. I think he thinks he can mitigate some of the worst elements of the Brexit deal done by Boris Johnson, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, when food's left at ports going off in lorries. They can't sell UK shellfish into the European Union, mitigate that and try and move on. Now, I think there's a trap here, possibly. You may not agree with me on this, but if the Tories and Reform will fight the next election on reversing Brexit, by then, in 4 years' time, you've got a Labour Party moving on from Brexit. And Brexit was a very, very difficult time for so many families divided over the dinner table, big rows across the board, across our society about Brexit. Labour and the Tories will be saying, I'm going to reverse this deal done by Sir Keir Starmer and Ursula von der Leyen. And then what do you want? Do you want to go back into that battle or move on into the 2030s? So I think there's a possible longer-term win. I take your point you're making there, Bev and Andrew. It's stirring up the anger, the fury we're seeing in our postbags at GB News. I would also say, look at what's been agreed. Not very much. Nothing on this youth experience scheme. Will it be 80 million people allowed to come here, as Boris Johnson says? Probably not. We're told by Sarah Jones on GB News moments ago. But other deals too. No price on defence deal, nothing on artist visas, nothing on passport e-gates in terms of member states can veto it if they want to, nothing on professionals coming across. And how much are we paying for the access to the clearing away red tape? The Swiss pay hundreds of millions of pounds. Are we paying billions? So many questions. Brexit is a process, not a destination.
All right, Chris. That's Chris Hope, our political editor.
Let's talk now to James Matthewson, former Labour strategist and dairy farmer Charles Godby. Join us now. Charles, let's come to you first. Your reaction, please, to this EU deal. Does this make life better for farmers?
Initially, you'd look at it and say, Europe is probably one of our bigger trading partners. It's on our doorstep. It makes sense. But actually, when you look at the detail, yes, we're better than where we were a few days ago, but are we better than where we were historically? And the answer is no, because UK and food production standards, everything in this country has moved on away from Brexit. So we're not competing on a level playing field again. So this is yet another kick for UK farmers and food producers.
Do you mean that you'd be held to standards, Charles, but you won't necessarily have subsidies?
Exactly. So it's going to benefit processors and retailers. They're going to get easy movement. But for the food producers, for the farmers, it's absolutely, it's going to be more of a hit to us than a help.
James, what's your assumption? Presumably, assuming that you are pro the EU. So what are we missing here? Why should we be celebrating?
I'm not necessarily pro the EU. I mean, we've left the EU. We had Brexit. I voted Remain. Not that it's relevant, but we've left the EU. We are out the EU. This deal, separately from that, is about trying to get good relations with Europe, with the continent. As Charles just said there, whilst it might be difficult, might be a challenge overall, it's Brexit that caused the majority of those problems and put us in this situation for UK businesses really struggling. And as he's just said, this is better than a few days ago. So it's, right, move in the right direction, so to speak.
So, James, can I jump in? Because we're always limited on time. So so farmers like Charles will have to follow EU regulations. And yet this government will have absolutely no say in whether those regulations are right or wrong. We'll be law takers, but we won't be lawmakers. And we still don't know what it's going to cost us in terms of the money we have to put into the EU bank. And by the way, the European Court of Justice will meddle and stick its nose in if they don't think we're doing the right thing on those regulations.
Yes, but it's not. We're not a member of the EU. The way this has been spun by so many.
No, quite. That's the point. That's the point. We're a law taker, not a lawmaker.
We're not a law taker, not a lawmaker. It's
yes,
a deal,
we are.
Andrew. It's a deal. It's not a membership. It's not, we're not taking laws and rules from other people. We're aligning so that we can trade with people. That's the way the deals work. That's the way the trade deals work. You don't seem.
We're aligning with their rules. Exactly, James. We're aligning with their rules, and we have no say in it.
That's how it works when you want
so
to
we're a
trade
law
with a
taker,
bloc.
not a lawmaker. Charles,
Yes,
do you
but if
feel
want to
happy
trade
about
with the
that,
bloc,
Charles?
Are we a
Charles,
law
James, hang on, we get James Charles in here.
No. Let me finish my point.
Go on, hurry up then.
Are we a law taker from the United States of America?
We're talking about the European Union, if you don't mind, Charles.
Exactly, because
James,
we're in exactly the same position as we are
Charles,
there.
you're going to have to be a law taker.
Yes, as we are with the United States as well, to a certain degree, on the fact that we have no say on what's coming into this country and the standards. Now, what we're seeing in this deal is Starmer just trying to lord himself up, as you've said, just trying to grasp any deal he can, just to try and get... But he doesn't care who he's throwing under the bus. He's throwing the fishermen under the bus in this deal. We've seen him throw farmers under the bus in previous deals. And it's all about trying to get cheap food. But what is the long-term cost of cheap food? Food in this country, we're the third cheapest in the world, but we've got farmers who are struggling to get by. Farmers left, right and centre. We've got mental health problems, suicide. We've got farms going out of business because they can't afford to produce food.
We
that
could
might
talk
sound
to morning,
crass.
gentlemen. I'm so sorry, Charles. We've run out of time. We're up against the clock. Charles Godby there and James Matthewson. Sorry, gentlemen. Let us know your thoughts at home.